Hi, this is Praios and I'm a professional gambler. Today's topic will be if poker players can succeed in a real job. I mean, and later we will also hear Phil Galfond's opinion about it. Actually, it's a video idea of Phil Galfond or his editor. And yeah, to me, first impression is Phil Galfond is running out of topics, and that's why he's making this his topic. And obviously, can poker players succeed in a real job or do a real job too? I mean, and now tons of players who have to do a real job now because they were very successful or mediocre successful, but at some point the games got too tough. They didn't quit in time and lost it all back, and therefore now have a normal job. So obviously, poker player can do a real job. If the question is, I think we are probably talking about the best guys and really successful pro poker players, as he is some real pro himself, and he probably wants to talk about these guys. And yeah, obviously, if you're the top pros are most of the time smart, intelligent, and work hard, and often also have a good mathematical understanding. And jobs where these skills are needed, poker players can also succeed and probably make more money if they are really good at what they are doing. So, for example, trading is I mean, if there's even such something like trading, or let's say investing, poker players should be good because many skills they learn from poker could also be applied to investing, like bankroll management, not putting everything on one thing, diversifying, stuff like that. Obviously, there are other jobs where poker players might not be great. Let's say being an actor. I mean, poker players learned to switch off their emotions, and actors need to be very emotional in order to be good actors. So that's for probably a profession where poker players would not be good in. So yeah, not sure what he's talking about. I mean, this video is 14 minutes. And I'm at the end of my speech after 2 minutes. So let's see what he has to say.
Hey everybody, before we get going in this video, I wanted to mention that this is not a sale, by the way. I'm not selling anything. I just realized it started to sound like that. I wanted to mention that we are trying a new audio video setup, and the first time we did this was last week. Well, basically what happened was we lost the primary audio recording. I will fix that in the future, but right now we're gonna release this video with a secondary audio recording, which is a little bit worse quality, but I wanted...
Yeah, this is annoying, especially because he's not holding the camera still, and it's always like, so it's, a bit annoying.
To mention that we're going to improve it. We'll scrap the other videos that we recorded during this session and I'll redo them, but I didn't have time to re-record and still release a video this week because I've been out of town until right now. So thank you for your patience. Please enjoy the video. I still think you'll really enjoy it, and I'll see you in the comments. Hey everybody, today's video is for poker players and employers. I want to let you know why successful poker players are not only hireable, but are likely to become the best performers in your company.
Yeah, I mean, it depends. If it's like a highly successful, highly motivated, intelligent guy, he probably will, but a lot of poker players are lazy and not what I just described. They are just making like an average salary, so to speak, and can finance their life with it, but they are not building a huge bankroll or anything. And these guys will just be average employees. The guys I was talking about before, the guys that were first good at poker and then sucked, they probably also now suck at a real job.
When I was 25, living in New York City, I played...
This audio is... it's not my fault. This is insane. I mean, he probably... there are some filters and stuff. His auditor should have... fixed it. Or maybe it's already fixed and it was even worse.
I played a charity poker tournament one time and met a very nice guy who ran a hedge fund there in New York. And he followed poker online, which if...
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I mean, hedge fund That's the thing that good poker players who understand the basics and bankroll management and variance and not tilting, this is like the best job for a poker player probably.
He didn't follow poker online. He probably didn't know about me, but he knew who I was. We had a great conversation. We had a great night. We actually exchanged numbers and we stayed in touch. Not long after that, he invited me to check out their hedge fund office, everything that you imagine a very nice New York hedge fund to be. As he was showing me around and explaining a little bit about what they do, he dropped in the, by the way,
my assumption would be he's highly successful playing poker, but I think in business he's probably not that successful, although he stayed within his circle of competence by opening a poker site. Okay, I think it's probably two sides of the coin to this story, because he's probably very successful and making tons of money with his coaching side that also has some software to offer, like the how's it called? PLO Vision, by the way, link in the description if you want a solver for PLO. And yeah, this is probably successful and making a good amount of money, but the poker side I think is probably not a big success, and he put a lot of money in and probably is still losing money because it's never picked up traffic to make it worthwhile. But yeah, it could be wrong. He never showed me his numbers, but I think it's probably true.
If you ever want to get into this, you have a job here. I was so surprised because I didn't know the first thing about trading. I dropped out of college and became a poker player. The last job I held before that was a camp counselor. I was so surprised that he believed in me as a trader more than I believed in myself, especially at a time when being a professional poker player was not as respected as it is.
By the way, trading is not a good thing to do. There are like longer term statistics, and like 95 or more % of traders losing. And keep in mind, the stock market is like a casino, but with an edge for the player if you place it right. So your long-term return is like whatever, 8 or 11%, a huge number if you just buy and hold a broadly diversified portfolio. And most traders trail this by a huge margin, and most of them are even losing money. This is because the market for the most part is efficient, and it's very hard to find bargain prices or things that are undervalued. But it's expensive to make all these trades. There are transaction costs, and also you pay more taxes. And that's why for the majority of people, it is best to just buy something and hold it and not do a lot of trading. Yeah, good point. If you want to learn more about finances and stuff, you are very lucky, as I have a second channel called Finance with Axel, where I discuss all these things. For example, this video, very underwatched. It's renting versus buying a home. I put so much effort and research into that, and you basically know everything about it when you watch this video, if you should buy or rent. So give it a shot. Back to Phil Galfond.
Today, which is still not super respected among the masses. What he already realized in 20.
Yeah, hi, Lost Paradise. I'm having a nice weekend. I hope you too. Greetings.
10 was something that I came to understand over the next decade. Successful poker players can be successful in really any industry. Trading at a hedge fund has a lot of similarities to poker in the types of problem solving that you do, even if...
Yeah, I think there are some industries that are more similar to poker and where the skills help you a lot, but in others, probably not. I made the example with the actor already. And yeah, I mean, there are like general skills like intelligence, working hard, giving your best, being very motivated, which usually the top guys in each industry have. And they probably can succeed in a different industry as well. So that's it. But yeah, this is not a feature all poker players have. This is only for the top guys who are very motivated and have the skills mentioned. And it's not for like every poker player.
If we're going outside of that into really any business that I can think of, I'm sure I'm forgetting some, the skill set and mindset of poker players make them a lot more valuable than you're probably thinking. While I've
Not sure if that's true. I mean, it also depends on the country you are in, because, for example, in Great Britain, people are very open-minded. When you tell them, oh, I play poker professionally, they are like, oh, very cool, blah, blah, and then they usually tell you their bad beat stories, which you don't want to hear, but you listen anyways because you want to be polite. But if you say the same thing in Austria or Germany, the people would be, he's probably a gambling addict. I have to run. And in this context, you at best don't tell people that you're a professional gambler or a poker player, but say something else. So it completely depends on the country you're in, how you are perceived.
I run a few small companies. I'm friendly with a lot of entrepreneurs and people in the workforce. The majority of the workforce, for lack of a nicer way to...
I mean, entrepreneurs, if that's even a profession, because yeah, this is a very huge scale of things what you could do. But as an entrepreneur, a lot of skills from poker might also come in handy, I think. Like money management and yeah, taking risk and stuff. I mean, that's basically a thing a lot of people can't do. And poker players usually do very well. That is managing risk. And a lot of people are either completely overboard, taking way too much risk, putting everything like in a cryptocurrency, a small one, not even a big one, which already would be very, very, very risky. And the other end of the spectrum are people who not take any risk, who not invest at all. And that is even a greater risk because the inflation will eat away the money they got, while they could at least get the inflation hedged or get excess returns on top of the inflation. But yeah, people are scared. They could also lose when they invest, true, but it's plus EV and they should definitely do it. And if you invest for having a long time horizon, you usually end up winning. And that's what people forgot about. They only see the huge things like the Joe Jones have in 1 year or something. When they think, oh God, I could lose 20% or 30% of my money and I can't do that. That's too risky. I just put it on my checking account and wait until inflation eats it all. This is especially true in times like now. I mean, inflation is 10%. You want to have it invested and make a return on your money. Otherwise, you will be having a lot of problems later because the cost of living is going up, but your money is not growing.
Put it, kind of phones it in. Their focus is often on keeping their job, looking good, and making their life not too hard.
And what I just mentioned, yeah, not taking any risk at all. And the biggest risk basically is to not take any risk. This is an even greater risk.
But not on the success of the company overall. And then you have the rare high performers, either people who are passionate about whatever product they're responsible for putting out into the world, and or the people who are entrepreneurial in mindset, always looking to problem solve for the company as a whole, trying to figure out how they can take things to the next.
I also think that poker players, thought that came to my mind, are usually very motivated by money. So businesses where it's not about money and making the most and having a nice house and a lot of net worth are probably not well suited for poker players, because this is about the money basically.
Level for the company, not necessarily for themselves. They clock in and they clock out, and even after clocking out, they're problem solving. They're thinking about, how can I do better at my job? How can my company do better overall? When you combine these attitudes with aptitude, you have something really special and something that every business owner knows you want to do whatever you can to hold on to. So back in 2012, I founded Run Once Training, poker training site, with my longtime friend and poker player, Dan Quinn. Dan was somebody that I was really confident in starting a business with because, unlike me,
I hope he gives us some insights in the real numbers and how successful it is. and not just like general stuff like, oh, I started a business and this was a great experience.
He was already hardworking and dedicated in poker. He had a reasonably long career before poker in finance. He was responsible. He understood things about the world that I didn't. I was really excited to go into business with him, who I knew I could trust with a lot of the things that I didn't understand about running a business. Dan ran the day-to-day, and I was kind of there for big decisions. I was the face of the company as a poker coach, and we worked great together, and we still do. Another very memorable time that I brought on a friend was when we founded Run Once Poker. We had already found somebody.
Oh, okay, I just got it wrong. Yeah, the coaching side did well, I think. But Run Once Poker is the very interesting case.
To lead the project, we found a number two, and we needed somebody who was going to be Poker Room Manager. This is the person that manages the department that makes decisions about the poker product, what rake we're setting, what games we offer. So I began talking to a longtime friend of mine, Jason Sentai, who I met when we were both doing poker coaching, was also a high-stakes online cash game player. You might know him from making the November 9 in the World Series Poker main event. I knew that he was extremely smart. I knew that he was extremely trustworthy. And I knew that I liked working with him. But I had some concerns because, like me, Jason was the kind of poker player that had been very successful without putting in much work. He didn't study poker very much, nor did I. We spent our hours playing poker, thinking about poker, discussing poker hands, but not grinding away, analyzing our databases, analyzing equities with what poker tools were available at the time.
Yeah, the thing also is, back in the day, you did not even need to do that in order to succeed. You just needed like some common sense and some basic understanding, and this was basically enough to do quite well already. Especially if you also choose the softest games or soft games, or were a good bum hunter like I was. I mean, I made the same mistake back in the day, but at some point it stopped being profitable if you don't work on your game. And then I worked on my game. I mean, I think I started off as a very good player because my common sense and my general understanding was very good. When other people worked on their game, I did not, or not to that extent, when I was just average. But yeah, I had the luck that I had good connections and knew a lot of people where I could buy a piece when they played very big games. That was very profitable for me. And on top of that, yeah, I was also grinding, but not with a great win rate. Maybe 2 BB 100 or something. But at some point, this wasn't enough anymore. Or for me, it was not enough anymore. And then I started to really look into the stuff, grinding away, doing all the analyses, even before Poker Solvers came out. And then I was really good again. Like, I think like maybe 6 BB per 100 or something I was making. And this was playing like 10k PLO and higher. So this was very, very profitable. And yeah, so basically, but then it got way worse, and then I basically quit. I mean, this wasn't the only reason I quit. It was also because many sites banned me because I won in their casinos, and I wasn't able to play poker there anymore too. But the thing was, as solvers came up, it was very easy for everyone to get very good, and you don't needed any knowledge or stuff. You just took the solver and went through things. No more math skills or anything needed, and it would tell you what to do. And this made a lot of people who would never made it, or like mediocre guys, to good players too. And there, in such an environment, it's way harder to make money. I mean, I still think if I would get into it and train hard, I'd probably have an edge, and also a quite good one. But it's not the same as back in the day, where people who worked hard and had the skills to analyze stuff without the help of a solver were extraordinarily good. Nowadays, this is not the case anymore. It's so easy to learn these things, and you also don't need connections or any other guys to figure it out. It's just a solver you need to like buy for this product, Links in the description, by the way. Also for the one of Jay Nendes, the PLO Trainer it's called. And yeah, you just train with this program and you become a great player. I mean, you need some skills, like you obviously don't want to learn every single spot by heart, but get the greater concept behind it so that you can abstract or use the knowledge you got from this spot in a different spot, but that's similar and probably the same rules apply. Okay, this is not had nothing to do with the video topic, but yeah, I think it was probably still interesting for you.
What in today's world would be solvers. And so I had hesitations. I wondered if in a real job, was he going to be able to put in the work? I knew he was capable intellectually of doing everything that this job entailed and more, but I didn't know if he would be hardworking. For me, up to this point, yes, I'd run a company for a long time, but I actually was mostly still a poker player. I didn't spend much time on the company, and I still was not studying very much at poker. I was not very hardworking on the company. And so I had kind of the same fears for him that I had for myself. So I worried if we put him into this role, would he just be another me, someone with good ideas that was not really organizing and executing the way that we needed? I spoke with him about it.
By the way, I'm not convinced that it was a good idea to open a poker room. And yeah, I wonder how. I would like to see the actual data. I think it's not public anywhere. And I also don't know Galfond that I could talk about that to him.
He understood how I felt. After a lot of conversation, we decided to go ahead and hire him. And what happened over the next several years is that he absolutely blew us away. Extremely organized, extremely hardworking. I already knew he was extremely smart. For Dan and I, he made our jobs so much easier, which is exactly what you want in an employee. He did so well and helped the company so much, even outside of his specific role and responsibilities. He moved up one level, he moved up another level, and after a few years, he was running the entire company. Coincidentally, during this time, I went from playing poker to working on the business full-time as well. And what I realized about Jason, which was that his poker study habits had nothing to do with his work efforts, I saw in myself as well.
So he probably is just a stakeholder now and not making any operative decisions anymore. I mean, it sounds like that.
We realized that, hey, now that I'm fully focused on this company, I'm working my ass off. And I've thought a lot about why it is that for both of us, finding those study habits in poker, that extra effort in poker was not quite there. But in business, we were extremely high achievers. I think what it comes down to is that when you're studying poker, you're preparing yourself to solve problems at the table. And when you're playing poker, you're solving problems. And Jason and I are really good at and love solving problems. Studying part, not so fun. It's not something that kind of occupies your mind. But when you're running a business, whether you're at work or not, there are constantly problems to solve. Your mind just kind of keeps going at all times, trying to solve those problems, trying to move the business up to the next level. And so in the recent years, I've made that realization about myself and about Jason and about poker players in general. And I thought back to 2010 when I got offered a job that I didn't think I deserved. And I thought, you know what, I probably would have done really well.
Yeah, I think he probably abstracts from him and the other guy, just two guys from a huge sample, that every poker player would be like this. But I'm convinced and confident that they are exceptions. And they are also like the guys with the skills needed, like top pros. And I think many of the lower tier pros or the guys in the middle who maybe make a good living, but are not rich or wealthy, are probably like your normal employees and not the high achievers.
Did that job. He was right. Incidentally, now that we sold Run It Once Poker to Rush Street Interactive, they get to have both Dan and Jason.
Oh, they sold Run It Once Poker. Okay. Let's see how much they make. Run It Once Poker. was sold for what is 2.5 in RSI stock? Ah, okay, RSI stock is the mother company. Ah, yeah, look at this. The RSI seems not to do well as it's making a lot of losses. And yeah, it looks like the company who bought them doesn't do well, and the price is also quite low. I mean, I remember that Pokersites, like I think Stars, got sold for like $1 billion or something, and this is getting sold for less than 6 million. And you also got a stock from a company that might not do that well, and they also probably put in a lot of money. So this is probably a losing bet from Phil Galfond, is my guess. Let's see.
Working for them, and I don't anymore, although I work with them. But I'm very jealous about that. So why is it that I believe poker players can do so well for you? First of all, the aptitude required to be a successful poker player has a pretty high floor. I like to think of it, when I look back at my college days.
Okay, he's only talking about successful poker players, probably even like the top dogs, not only successful, but like the best guys in the business.
Anytime I took a physics class, across the board, everybody in the class was super smart. And so if I were hiring somebody who had a degree in physics, I would just kind of know from an intellectual perspective. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be great at everything else, but somebody who comes from poker, being successful at poker specifically, is almost always going to have a strong brain. I believe that playing poker professionally is as good of training as anything else in areas of risk-reward analysis, problem solving, and just general decision-making. Most importantly, you need to understand.
Yeah, that might be true, especially if you are playing on a very high level.
What being a poker player really is. To be a poker player, you can't just phone it in. Show up, clock in, move some papers around, respond to a couple emails, and collect a paycheck. You have to be performing at the highest level that you can at all times. Otherwise, you're going to make less money or you're going to lose money. You have to be constantly thinking about how can I best solve the problem.
Yeah, the thing about poker players also is that they have to be very competitive, and this can also be good in a real job environment.
That's facing me right now. And how can I prepare myself to solve those problems in the future? How can I find better opportunities for myself? How can I improve my career? As a poker player, you might be watching TV on the couch after you've done a long day, and an idea pops into your head about how you can improve studying a specific spot, how you can exploit this opponent in a certain way. And you rush back to your computer and you break out Pokertracker and you look at that opponent's stats and you figure out what to do. That kind of mindset is an entrepreneurial mindset. And when you hire a poker player, you get the benefit of someone with entrepreneurial spirit and entrepreneurial experience, but that actually hasn't been an entrepreneur, because people who have been...
Yeah, the thing also is, if you're a poker player and if you use your brain, even outside of your work hours, like he's explaining it here, all the benefits from it will go into your pocket right away. But if you do the same thing, if you are employed, it might be the case that you get nothing of the value you created, but everything is going to the guy who hired you. And that's a huge difference. And this could change things quite a bit in my mind.
A successful entrepreneur aren't often coming to work for you. They're running their business and it's taking off. When you take a person like this out of poker and into the workplace, again, in my experience, they very often become the kind of people who just crush their jobs. Of course, this is not going to be the case across the board. I have been careful to, a couple of times in this video, say successful poker players. I'm not talking about people who played poker for 4 months and made $5,000. I'm talking about people who sustained a career for multiple years, should have made at least in the 6 figures over that time, and as such will have had to have done a lot of problem solving, not just at the poker table, but for their career. The first message that I want to make sure you walk away from this video with is, if you are a poker player, you are developing skills that can help you elsewhere. Yes, you're not building your resume, and a lot of people who have not watched this video are not going to value your...
I think this assumption is only because he is or was a poker player himself. And I think in your resume, usually it will look pretty bad, and most potential employers will not even invite you to the interview if they see, oh, this guy played, whatever, 10 years professional poker. We need to hire this guy. He's probably a gambling addict, but whatever, we hire him. That's, I mean, yeah, you see, I don't think that this skill is searched for a lot. Maybe for hedge funds or in some parts of the financial industry, but yeah, other than that, I can't see poker players being searched for. More the the opposite is the truth.
Career in poker. It could be harder to find a job in the future if that's something you're looking to do, or if that's something you want to have as a backup plan. But you absolutely are developing skills that can help you in the real world. And if you've been successful in poker, you can be successful at a lot of things that you put your mind to. I've seen it every time. For employers, the message is obvious. I believe that hiring poker players, successful poker players, is going to be a decision that you're going to come back and thank me for a year from now. A couple of practical things for employers looking to hire poker players. I personally had the advantage when hiring poker players of being a poker player myself, being well connected in the poker world.
He also doesn't get the point entirely. I mean, everything he does is poker related, so it makes sense to to employ people who know something about gambling and poker. But if you are in a complete different industry, it might not make sense.
And so I've hired people who I know have had good reputations. I know have had results. I've known them either through friends or I've actually known them myself. Being a successful poker player is more than just calling yourself a poker player. If you're taking my advice, which I really, really think you should, make sure that you vet poker players to make sure that they have actually succeeded in poker. Because if they haven't succeeded in poker, they haven't proven all the things I've been talking about throughout this video. There are a few ways you can do that. One is to check their tax returns if you're in a country where poker players pay taxes. Professional gamblers in the US, at least, are required to report as professional gamblers, and
most poker players are living or immigrating to countries, at least the poker players I know about, to countries where they don't have to pay taxes and where gambling is tax-free. So this could be hard, at least in Europe.
Report how much we made every year, and you can go back and look at several years of tax returns to see that, well, in fact, this player did have results sustained over several years. It's different if somebody won a single tournament.
I mean, let's say someone is in the UK and just claims, okay, I'm this nickname, and often people will not be able to find out if it's actually true or not. But yeah, I think no crook had the idea yet to fake his resume and say, I'm a professional poker player, you have to hire me. So, yeah.
For $500,000. I mean, that's a ton of money, but somebody could get lucky and win a single tournament and have not actually been a good poker player. Now, you don't need to make sure that they've made $100,000 a year for 10 years, but that they've built up smaller amounts to bigger amounts, just supported themselves for a long enough time. You don't need an...
It also is a huge difference if they did that in like 2005 to 2000, whatever, 10 or afterwards, because the environment became so much harder later. And these guys, I mean, someone who now starts from micro stakes or mid stakes or small stakes or whatever and comes up to highest stakes and beats these games consistently, and if he's not cheating, this might be a guy which you want to hire, because yeah, he's very good in problem solving and learning and stuff. But yeah, not the guy from back in the day who could just be lucky, or yeah, I mean, there was not that much required back in the day, honestly. I mean, there were less resources out there too, but it was easy, at least in my mind.
Absolute crusher. You don't need somebody who's bringing in 7 figures. A lot of people who are even just getting by are going to have all of these qualities that I'm talking about. Poker's a hard living. Another thing that you can do if you're talking to an online poker player that you're considering hiring is to ask for their online results, which they should have in Pokertracker or Holdem Manager.
What is the saying? Playing poker is a hard way to make an easy living or something like that. Not sure who said that.
Manager or a similar program. Now, these can be modified. I could have played 10,000 hands this year and deleted 2,000 hands where I lost money, so it looks like I won when I haven't. But probably there are some ways to get around this, either comparing to deposits in their bank account, comparing to withdrawals from a poker site and that poker site's cashier.
Yeah, I mean, this can also be manipulated, to be honest.
Obviously, if someone is really trying hard to trick you, you might not be able to catch them, but I don't think that many people are going around fudging their poker results so that they can get hired at some job. One thing that you should not necessarily look at, or at least use caution when you look at, is total live cashes on a site like Holdem. If I, over the course of 10 years, buy into $5 million worth of tournaments and I cash out $2 million for a total loss of $3 million, Holdem will say that I have $2 million in winnings.
Yeah, Holdem is a stupid site because it's not taking into account the buy-ins. That's true. And I think this site was used to punish this German guy. He's a pilot. What is he called? Eddie Scharf, I think. They took this as his probable winnings because they have no clue what they are doing. I think Eddie Scharf probably also has no clue what he's doing, but he has to pay a lot of taxes and also fees to his lawyers now after he lost in every instance and every higher court.
And that looks impressive, but in actuality, I've been a significant loser over that period of time. It's still useful to see that someone's been playing for years and years. So if someone's putting up numbers year after year, you can kind of assume that they're not losing money every year, because how are they supporting themselves? And lastly, just like with any hire, you can find references. Ideally, preferably, if they're connected to somebody who is well-known and respected. But even if not, just talking to people who they know through poker, who can vouch for them being trustworthy, who can vouch for them being hardworking, things along those lines. I really have 2 hopes for people watching this video. First, if you are a poker player, don't underestimate.
What I am definitely going to do is, if I one day try to get a job, I'll send this video with it, or at least the last 5 minutes, that they can, that they see that I might be helpful. I mean, he's advocating hard for poker players and employing them.
Yourself in other areas. What you've done making it in poker is extremely impressive, and it takes a lot of skill, it takes a lot of dedication, it takes a lot of ability. 2, for employers, I'd just love for somebody who's watching to take this advice, make a hiring decision that they might not have otherwise made because of a gap in somebody's resume that is represented by poker, and that you come back to me and let me know how it went after a year. All right, I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, consider subscribing.
I wonder
if, and I think,
okay, is this watched a lot? No, although it's just up 9 hours. Not sure what his usually count is, but I think it's probably less than normal, because this is a strange topic. And I'm also impressed that he was able to speak about it for like 14 minutes. Yeah, but it was still fun to give my comments on it. And if you want to hire me, just leave a comment below. But I'm not cheap. You have to pay a good salary. Jokes aside, thanks for watching. Follow if you are watching here on Twitch, or if you want to see me live, consider following me on Twitch. And if you watch on YouTube, like, subscribe, share, and don't forget to check out my second channel. And I will also link another video here that you might also be interested in. Bye until next time.